so in Nigeria, we've gone past that stage where we say to ourselves, I'm going abroad. And so you're going abroad and it sounds so exciting and so, like my kids will say, bougie. Oh, look at you, you're really up and going, you're rich. It's gone past that stage. Because now you're going abroad, for what purpose? For what purpose? You want to go study abroad, you want to go live abroad. So now people are just going abroad because where we come from is not livable. But you see, most times I tell you things that I know. Why do I come to tell you these things? I lived my young years in Nigeria. 28 of my years I lived in Nigeria. So I know Nigerian system. And then I've come here and I've lived here 26 years. So I should know what I'm talking about, because now I know the comparison between living in Nigeria and living in Europe. And I know what goes on in both systems. Now, if we had a decent system in Africa, a decent system in Nigeria, why should any of us carry ourselves over to live in another man's country? It's no longer fun to say, oh yeah, I'm going abroad. Because the fun of it is gone. I mean, years before now, when people used to just, I remember people telling me the stories, and in the past, Nigerians at the airport did not even need a visa. You just arrive and then they stamp your passport and you get in. That was when it was fun. Why? Because whatever Nigeria had, Europe had it, UK had it, America had it, and it was even a reverse scenario when Nigeria even had more. And then when Nigerians were coming here, it wasn't because it was anything so unique. They just wanted to experience another place. But that's no longer what's going on now. People are living in Africa, people are living in Nigeria in drones. They're living in shiploads. Because we want to go catch, you know what it is like. This is, because I'm studying travel and tourism, I can tell you, the history of it makes a lot of sense. It is just natural human nature to chase where things are okay. You just watch. Whenever there's famine, do you see people live in that place? No, they move. Whenever a place is uncomfortable, it is just human nature to walk away from that place. That's why you hear that saying, the grass is greener on the other side, because everybody wants to go where the grass is green. And so it's just natural for every African right now to think that the grass is greener in Europe, in US, in you name it, anywhere but Africa, anywhere but Nigeria. We had recently where in China, Africans were being chased out. And this is going on around the world. But what is creating this situation? You cannot have a country where what's going on is people are just constantly just embezzling every fund that's meant to create development. And so now this baton handing over, with the example of the relay, is we are handing over a generation of desperate, hungry children. Children who are just escaping the country, emigrating the country just for the sake of it. There's this book I'm reading and it's trying to explain. It's called The Knowledge Revolution. And what this one is explaining, this is quite a bit of an old book. It was looking back, or rather at the time when Europe was having that same problem as well. And so at that stage, Europeans were emigrating to US. Why? Because the standard of living in the US was a lot better than what was happening in Europe. And careers on a par level were different. If you're a medical doctor in Europe and you're a medical doctor in America, the salaries were different, the conditions of service were different, and so people had more money in their pockets than living in America than living in Europe, and it was a problem. And so he had to write a book about it, explaining what was going on, how generations to come are going to suffer if they don't stop. Then it was called brain drain. But that's what's going on right now in Africa. And the case with Africa is not because there's a comparison between, oh yeah, doctors are paid X amount and lawyers are paid. No. The situation in Africa is there is complete emptiness. Every politician in Africa, in Nigeria, just wants to cut away every money that belongs to the country into a suitcase and take it to a bank in Dubai, a bank in Europe, a bank in America, a bank in anywhere else but Africa. Now, that is very worrisome. That is very worrisome because what we've created now is complete lack of development. Don't even, I worry and complain about infrastructure and this and that, but right now we're talking about complete lack of, nothing exists. And I have so many, friends and my kids ask me, can we go to Nigeria? Can we go to, how can you take people who were born and bred somewhere else where they've never experienced this type of lack to a place where this exists? I am in tourism and I know that no tourist will visit a country that does not provide the basic. And people who know me know I travel a lot. When I travel, these are the things I'm looking out for. Why would a tourist want to visit this place? What's in this place that's exciting? What's in this place that's attracting them? And so you hear the most basic, like security. Nigeria, there is constant. Right now, terrorism is beyond imagination. Every day, people. I was listening. I can't remember where I heard that. And on the indices of the most unsafe country to visit, Nigeria is number 3. Number 3. And we have politicians who are taking trillions of dollars into their personal pockets. How do you create a country where you starve the younger generation of growth and you think you are leading a country? Because right now, what that means is this generation that's creating this, like I said with the title, you have created slaves. That's what this generation of politicians have completely created in Nigeria, in Africa. Now, let me explain how this affects me or how this bothers me so much. Let's go into the Bible. Us Africans, we love Bible. And so we love going to church and then let everybody preach whatever they like, because you see, my take on the Bible, which I love to bits, and for me, Bible is a living history. Because when you read the Bible and understand the stories of things that happen to people, if we had any sense, when we read the Bible, we get the message. It's a living history. What happened in the Bible is when Joseph was sold by his brothers to these Egyptians, nobody knew what was going to come out of this. The brothers went back home, told their dad, oh yeah, some animal ate Joseph, and look, that's Joseph's clothes, because they now killed an animal and put the blood on Joseph's favorite shirt that the dad gave him out of jealousy, and then brought the shirt home to show the dad that, look at what happened to Joseph. An animal ate him and this is what happened to his shirt. That cries and stories over, case closed. But nobody know that the story will carry on. Joseph survives in Egypt, ended up being a governor or deputy governor because of the dreams he was seeing, and he was interpreting dreams, ended up having a very, very good responsible role where he was the one who had to store all the food that was coming up based on the famine that was happening, the time of plenty and the time of famine. What then happened? In the end, the same brothers who had sold him off ended up going to Egypt to buy food. He sees them and he recognizes them. Now, he eventually tells them to bring his parents and his little brother to him. Then they all ended up living in Egypt. But why is this interesting? In the end, the now generations were born and born and born, and in the end, they've forgotten where they came from. That's how the Israelites ended up in Egypt. It took the intervention of God through Moses to get the Israelites out of Egypt. Now what happened? Because Israelites had become slaves in Egypt. The generation of Joseph had come and gone. When Joseph was, governor and taking control of food and everything was fine. So when I say the Bible is living history, do we not see a comparison going on right now? Because it's okay, I know so many Nigerians, I know so many Africans who will say to you blatantly, I am not going back to that God-forsaken country again. Nothing would take me there again. Look at how they are behaving, da. And so you come over to Europe, you come over to the West, and you feel so comfortable in somebody else's country. And maybe you find a little money, you buy yourself, you get yourself a mortgage, and you think, oh yeah, look, I'm in paradise. Are we thinking about our children? Are we thinking about our great-grandchildren to come? Generations of Africans and Nigerians that were born abroad who have no clue where Nigeria is? Are we imagining what will happen to them when that time comes? I mean, some people will say to you, oh yeah, don't worry about that. How do you put your children through that? Because any government that has any sense plans for its future. And I sit down here and I read books. Look at this man writing about knowledge evolution. That was his worry. How do we sit here, watch our brain being drained off to different countries, and then we run a country? What sense are we making for our future generations? And they had to find ways to get their brains back. But no, I have listened to a video call with a minister in Nigeria telling Nigerians, stay where you are, we don't need you back home. Is that a joke? You are telling your own citizens to stay away. I mean, it makes sense to me. I know why they say that. But why? Because if the people who are intelligent enough, people who are smart enough, people who have experienced life enough, go back to Nigeria and they will start telling them that what you're doing is wrong and this is not right, this shouldn't be happening, then they will not like that. So it's okay when they live in a system where the blind is leading the blind. Clearly that's what's going on. Nobody should tell them that what they're doing is wrong, cutting away money, sending it abroad. What would be wrong with these so-called politicians to invest this money they're stealing from the coffers of the Nigerian government back into the system? What would be wrong with that? What would be wrong with developing the roads in Nigeria so that their own children too, who have been sent to the Harvards and the various universities of the world, when they come back home, they have a road to drive on? What would be wrong with that? What would be wrong with creating enough industries and jobs that young Nigerians can walk in and feel good in their country, such that when their so-called children come from wherever, they come and be bosses of the... That's what happens in the West. Do you think the children of these leaders are busy struggling for jobs with ordinary British citizens? No. They know their parents prepare them to run their country, their businesses. That's fine, but they don't export the money out of the system. That's where my problem is. Because by exporting that money, putting that money in banks outside of Nigeria, in businesses outside, what you have created is a dependency country. A dependent country and continent. That's why our children are hiding in suitcases of people who are going on holiday having their regular fun, creating insecurity for these people. That's how our young children educated and all, which is where I have another problem. We think the answer is sending our children to every university we can find. Anywhere you hear Univer, our children is sent there. If they're teaching rubbish there, nobody cares. As long as it's a Univer outside of Nigeria, yes, I'm sending my child there. An African and Nigerian doesn't care, selling every land he has just to send his child to Univer. Whatever it says in England or in America, they will send their children there. We have not asked ourselves, when our children come out of the schools, will they find value in our system? Or is the plan, when they finish, let them just stay there. Let them not come back home. And so what do we end up having? So then we start having our children, and then they have children and children. I'll tell you what the situation is right now in the West, because I live here and I know. I live here and I know. And you know, when God sent Moses to go and get the children of Israelites out of Egypt, it took years. It took years and years and years. Remember this story? Then Moses was so angry at some point, he went to the mountain to pray. He comes back and the children are worshiping idols, and he got so angry and he hit the ark and broke it, and God gets angry with him and says, okay, you're not going to see the promised land. And they were wandering around for 400 years. There's still trouble in their land till today. There's still trouble because they're always fighting with the Palestinians. But why? Because if we have any sense, that story will remind us of what we are creating. We're creating generations of Nigerians, generations of Africans that will not see any use for Africa in future. Right now, we have been told over and over by people in the West, this has happened to my children. They're just minding their business, walking down the streets. Somebody says to them, go back to where you came from. We've sat down here, we've heard about George Floyd, we've heard of Breonna Taylor. We've heard the President of the United States say to black people, go back to where you come from. That shithole country you come from. And why would anyone blame him? Because obviously he's looked back in Africa and it is a shithole country. Do we want to agree to that or not? If you know the truth, better accept it. Because I have seen a lot of crap in that country. Whenever I go holiday there or go and get on with whatever business I want to do there, I love my country to bits. I'm one person who will sing the praises of my country to high heavens. Why? Because I live there and I know what it's meant to be like. We have fertile land. The other day I went walking and I sent some videos of land, acres and acres of land that's been, you know, people are planting all kinds of crops on it, and in plantations of it. We can't even begin to name the number of crops we have in Africa that we could plant in plantations. Chinese are doing it right now in Nigeria. But we, because of the whole messed up community we have, we don't see any value in ourselves. Because simple things that our leaders are meant to put in place, they will not put it in place. And they just leave us to our own devices. I mean, I live here and I can afford to have electricity. Why? Because somebody made sure that was put in place. Yes, I pay crazy bills for it, but it is in place. I can afford to drive car on a smooth road. Someone went through that. You pay your road tax, you pay all the bills that go with it. Yes, it's in place. But no, the case of Nigeria is so out of this world. You will actually see a road that has practically turned into a river. If you follow me on Facebook, I've shared those images. When I saw them, I was in shock. And a local government community chairman would say, do not touch that road. Even if the neighbors in the people in the neighborhood say, okay, we drive on this road, we want to fix it for our own use. And here they get killed. Because they want to fix a road that they are going to use. Why is that a problem? Because Mr. Local Government Chairman wants to use that road to put in his budget so he gets money for that road, which he will never fix. Do you see how messed up we are? Do you see why, people are telling us go back to the shithole country you come from? Because we can't think. That worries me. That worries me. It worries me so much that we don't have to wait until the act of God comes down through some person to take us back to. Do you know how many blacks are across the world? Why have we been put in this place where we're chasing our own out of where they belong? Because people like me want to go back home. I know so many Nigerians that will do anything to get back. But I know so many who have been and have been killed. I know so many. Why? Because the mentality, which I was saying earlier, that is not what it used to be, where people think, oh yeah, because you're so rich, that's why you can afford to go abroad. People still have that mentality. Because you live abroad, you're so rich. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. People here are just struggling to keep it together. You have to deal with the racism that comes. You have to deal with, there's a book I have here where this lady wrote about second-class citizens. There's something they call white privilege. Especially in America where, okay, yes, the slavery thing happened so bad and, it's one of the things I was actually going to point out as well. Centuries ago, our great-grandparents sold Africans out. They sold us out as slaves, plantation slaves, where in America, blacks were used to go and, plant all the crops and do all. That's what created this racism that's still carrying on till today. Till today. The George Floyds of this world, the Breonna Taylor, that's what created the police brutality we're seeing, the white supremacy. That's what created it. Slavery. You can look back and you say, oh, they were ignorant. They didn't know the implication of what they did. Oh my gosh, that is so sad. And we feel bad and we say, okay, we're here now. What do? We deal with the situation. But what is happening today is not out of ignorance. What is happening today, the Nigerian leaders, the Nigerian politicians, the African politicians know exactly what they're doing. They are taking money that's meant to be used for development in the country and the continent, they're sending it out. They are knowingly handing over projects, handing over natural resources of Africa to Chinese people. And hiding under, we want them to come and create projects for us. But that hurts me. You know why it hurts me? We have sent our children to every university we can think of across the world. We have one of the most educated youths in the world. But our youths do not have any hand in any of these projects. Our youths do not have any hand in any of this development in our country. Because Minister of Finance, Minister of Transport, Minister of whatever, trade, industry, wants to collect bribe from Chinese investor. So he doesn't see any point in telling the Nigerian youths to come and get involved in projects that concern their country. He doesn't see any point in that. This minister, listening to this video call, is busy telling us, I cannot build road until I have money. What happened to creativity? Because this type of question is what made me wonder, and I started researching. And I came across understanding what China has been doing. Innovations in China. And there's so much more. Science and development in China, what has been going on with China, China's science, technology and education, China's management revolution, science and technology in history. I had to find out what China knew that the rest of us don't know. And I got a chronological history of how China held it together. But today, China goes across the world collecting what they call belt and road. Belt and road, China will give you road and you give them belt, or they pull the belt on you if you don't give them what they want. So now China is going around owning every country in the world, where we're sitting down and watching them. And the question is, we haven't even asked ourselves, how did they get there? But I could ask, and I've done my research, but I'm not in a position of making decisions. I'm not in a position of, I own all the billions of naira or dollar or whatever that should allow me to make decisions. There's natural resources in Nigeria. In addition to human resources being all these educated brains we have, why are we not using them? Why do we hand over everything that belongs to us to this rest of the world? Why? Why do we think we're so ignorant that we have no knowledge in our head, that we have to sell ourselves off to these people, to the point that our generations to come have nowhere to live right now? Because when China owns the rest of Africa, where do we have a leg there anymore? I mean, the sad part is we will not be at home in Africa anymore, and yet we will not be at home in the rest of the world. Where would our generations be when we are gone? That's why I'm saying we're creating generations of slaves. We need to sit back and ask ourselves questions. We need to understand what it is we are creating. You know, what really hurts is the fact that as a politician or a so-called leader in Nigeria, they tend to think that, oh, look at me, I have this amazing position. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be here forever. But let me be the one to break it to you, whoever you are, that you're not going to be here forever. That before you got there, thousands more have been there and they've gone. It is in your interest that you create something, some legacy that people can look back to and say, look at when XYZ was in that position, look at what he created. That's how simple as it is. People like Ken Saro-Wiwa, God himself, they killed him because he asked questions. They killed him because he stood for something. Today we all remember his name. But when you remember Sani Abacha, the one who killed him, what comes to your mind? That's a question we should ask ourselves. None of us are going to be here forever. That position you hold today will be gone tomorrow. Then what's going to happen? Are you going to look back and wish you had done the right thing? Because seriously, generations have come and gone holding positions of power. I mean, I remember there was one governor. I went to university with this governor. I was shocked when I heard what he had done. It did not take long after he had committed other atrocities that he died. It did not take long. You know, was it not Macbeth? I can remember that. Macbeth had murdered sleep. This thing called peace of mind, this thing called sleep, you cannot have it if you have created problem in the world. You can't have peace. And so if you actually sit with yourself and take your pen and sign away billions into your personal account, and you feel so good with yourself, and you know, you march around with bodyguards and you think, oh yeah, I'm on top of it. And then it's all over. How do you feel with yourself when the truth comes out? When people start talking about you, when people start looking at you. And then what happens? They start developing all types of illnesses. There was one we had, oh, now she has cancer. Oh, she's about to die. Everybody will die, but what type of death do you really want to own? Or do you want to have? We all know none of us are here forever. So when you're in a position to create a decent life for everyone around you, why can you not just take it on? Why is it such hard work that Nigerians cannot? You know, what hurts is you actually carry yourself and you go to another man's country to go and enjoy. Because you want to take the message back home that, look at me, I travel the world and I'm so rich. And when I go there, I stay only in the best hotels, 7-star hotel. And then you come back and you hide into your house in Nigeria. The airport you arrive in, there was a time I arrived in Nigeria and from the minute you come out of the plane, you start feeling uncomfortable. But Nigerians are entering the same plane and going to other people's country, and then we walk around feeling so good. We take selfies we want to send back home to make people look at us with, oh, look at them, they're having so much fun. But what would be wrong with Nigerians having so much fun in their own country. What would be wrong with that? I don't know what to say anymore. You know, all the things that's happened recently in Nigeria that's really got me so fired up and so wound up. It's so heartbreaking. For the mere reason that I have seen what other parts of the world is like. For the mere reason that these things that are created in other parts of the world come from people's planning, come from people's conscience, come from people's thinking. And we actually sit there and allow our children to be treated so badly across the world, our race, to be looked upon with disgust. Well, we could have done something to change it. When my daughter asked me the other day, Mom, why do they hate us so much because of the color of our skin? Now that hurts. Because it is not based on the color of our skin. It is based on our ignorance of how to carry ourselves well as a people. If we in Africa had taken knowledge like everybody else had done, the Bible said it, the first thing you seek is knowledge. Now the rest of the world, again, from my research, reading all these various books, I was curious again, like I said, wanting to know what other people did that we have not done. Knowledge revolution, science and technology in history, conscious capitalism, and it just goes on. Science and technology in the global Cold War. So, countries went through various stages. After the First World War, Second World War, all the problems that happened, starvation, people are hungry, what do we do? There were no jobs. And so what were the first stages? Agrarian revolution. Let's make sure everybody have food to eat. And that's when they started creating all the plantations and people. Food was now no longer a problem. And they moved from there and they went to industrial revolution. Oh, let's create machines so we can make things faster. So things that 20 people could have done, a machine can do it in an hour instead of 20 days waiting for something to happen. That happened. And then they moved on science revolution. How do we make things even easier than that? How do we not depend on machines to make things better? And so things have been moving on. Science revolution, industrial revolution, mechanical revolution, you name it, know-how revolution, technological revolution. Now we're moving on to AI and you name it, robotics. But what is going on in Africa? What is going on in Nigeria? We haven't even moved up to agrarian revolution. Everybody is still farming this tiny little plot of land to make put their okra there, put their pepper there, put their cassava here, just my little land, and then 20 of us will go and till it, and then we wait another 2 more, 3, how do I say, 6 months before we go and harvest it. In the meantime, everybody's hungry and waiting. We wait until it's the season of okra. We wait until it's the season of tomato. These are things that other countries have perfected. You live in the West, you don't have to worry about season because all the food is there. And then I ask myself, how did they do that? How could they make us have orange all year round, banana all year round, tomato all year round? But you go to Nigeria and it's not tomato season, that's it, forget tomato. If you go to Nigeria and it's mango season, there's mango everywhere. People are chewing mango. But you come here and you see mango is used in various ways. Mango juice, mango this, mango that, mango is put in various things. So this is where we should have started from. Agrarian revolution, how do we convert all these natural resources resources that God has given us into something that we can see value for. And in the process, create jobs for our people. Create a feeling of empowerment. We're not even there. We're not even there. China set up their Science and Technology Academy to start thinking, what can we do with science? Every child who studies science knows that science, they can be creative with science. My children here, when they talk to me about science, I look at them with amazement. Now, all you need to give a person like that is empower that person. Set up a place and say, I want you to go and mock with the science. I want you to tell me what we can do with this, with sunlight, with this one, with that one. These things are there. But we haven't even created room for our children to explore what they know. And all we think of as Nigerian politicians is how much money we can put in our personal bank account. So we're so rich that by the time we die, our children will never suffer. But you're making a mistake. Because the armed robbers, the people you have refused to give power to, the human resource that you have refused to support and guide, will sit on the highway and wait for your son as he's coming by, and they have different ways of doing it. So, well, you, Mr. Politician, because that's what came to me. We're talking about Industrial Revolution and Science Revolution. In Nigeria, what they have revolutionized is embezzlement revolution. Because I had to do a chronology of the various governments that are taking over in Nigeria, and it's like each new government gets wiser and smarter on how to steal the money. That tells you a revolution is going on. And so instead of thinking science revolution, technology revolution, all of that in Nigeria, no, what we're thinking is, how do I revolutionize how to steal? Embezzlement revolution. Thievery revolution. Armed robbery revolution. Pen robbery revolution. So all these various negative revolutions is what's going on. And so we carry on like that, and we think that our children will turn out to be good when we haven't given them anything that will support them. And so that's them entering suitcases and running to anywhere in the world but ours. Nigerians will need to rethink. And you know, if you follow me on Facebook, I talk about these things and I throw them out. We don't need to just sit down there and pretend it's not happening, because it is happening. We should not. I am speaking to whoever's watching me today. We should not sit there and pretend it's not happening, because our keeping quiet is actually encouraging these people to carry on as if nothing is happening. There is no way in the world that people allow things like this to carry on forever. It is time we speak up. And this is my voice to speaking up. I am speaking up today because I know I have children. And my children are going to have children. And their children are going to have children. And I would want them to find peace and love in the country where their roots come from. Not hang around in some place and be called names. That's not what I want for our future generation. There's enough land in Africa to contain all of us. If you choose to visit the rest of the world, fine, nothing's wrong with that. But we should not be put in a position where we have no choice. Because that's what's going on. We should have a choice. Everyone needs to speak up to bring some kind of conscience to these people who are not thinking beyond their noses. Because anybody that thinks beyond their nose will not carry on this facade that's going on in Africa. We've seen it in action. I mean, only yesterday Mugabe was doing that in Zimbabwe. Where is Mugabe now? Where is Gucci Grace now? With all that designer bags and designer shoes. These things, Bible calls it vanity upon vanity. It ends up nowhere. So the sooner we wake up to reality and start thinking in creating concrete things for our children to feel good, and generations of black people to come to know that they have a brain and they have the capability like anywhere else in the world to create amazing continent for ourselves, the sooner we do this, the better for all of us. I'm going to leave it here today because if I have to carry on with this, I will not stop. So thank you so much for watching. And I'll say, if you enjoy what we bring to you here, remember to turn on the notification bell so that whenever we come on, you know what's going on. You are well informed ahead of time. Follow us on our various social media platforms. I am on Facebook, Joy PHIDO. I'm on Instagram, Joy PHIDO, and I throw a lot out on Instagram. It's all about empowering us. That's my mission here, to empower us so we can live a better, fuller lives. I know we have major issues with our politicians, which we all need to speak of against. But at the end of it all, we all have potentials to become whatever it is that God wanted us to be. There's a lot in all of us. There's a lot in all of us. So I am here to empower you, to support you, to guide you with all the experiences that I've had. And I'll keep doing that for as long as God wants me to do that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless you.